All right, you're hearing from me again. We just spoke about AI, technology, how technology is disrupting our education system. I think it's also important to talk about skill sets that we need to develop for the industry as well. India, of course, has the world's largest young population heading into workforce, and I am sure everyone here agrees that while we do have good graduates, industry-ready skills require vocational education, and that is something that's still lacking in India. Tailor-made education courses that can actually prepare a workforce that's industry-ready. Let me start with Mr. Paramjeet Jaswal. Mr. Jaswal, vocational education is something we are here to talk about. At SRM Sonepat, you of course prioritize vocational programs. Help me understand, how do you bridge this gap? What are the sort of vocational programs that you're looking at? Because the gap between what the industry wants and what the kind of graduates we have is massive. How are you trying to bridge that?
Thank you so much for this question. Well, if I talk about SRM University, the gap is not as much as you are saying that it's a huge gap. Today, in the context of education, the vocational education is no more an option for us. It is a mandatory part of the imparting of education. And I'm proud to say that in SRM University, the pedagogical architecture is so structured that we take into consideration, or that fills the gap between the theoretical, the problem which are there, or theoretical utility. So when we frame our syllabi, the frame of our curriculum, we take into consideration the industry. In fact, in our university, we have bridged this gap. The industry comes to our university. We have collaboration with IBM. We have a collaboration with Bosch. We have collaboration with Jabia, and so on with many industry. And we have established centers of excellence in the university. So instead of our students, we are talking about going to the industry people come there. They have a dedicated labs there, and the industry people come and give the training to the student. We focus on not creating the student for the future employment only. We also focus on the students to be future employer also. That has been the focus. So we are taking into consideration the gap is reduced considerable.
Absolutely. Like the Prime Minister says, we don't just need job seekers, we also need job creators, and I think that should be the focus of all vocational programs. And Mr. Kaushik, you have a brilliant vantage point. You're the Vice Chancellor of the Gurugram University. I think right from your office, you're able to see all of these brilliant, beautiful companies hiring people. What are the urgent shifts that you think that need to be made as far as vocational programs are concerned to ensure that we are creating a workforce that is industry ready when it comes to our service economy, or even, overall economy that you look at?
Thank you so much. Actually, till date, what has happened is that in the name of vocational training, we are producing the candidates who we make them good in one particular skill. So we train them for a skill, which probably should not be the case. And in the times to come, the way the things are changing, you have to develop the candidate, a composite, complete candidate. This means that along with one skill for which you are imparting him the education or the training, make him good, that tomorrow when he shifts from one job to other job, when he requires reskilling, now that has to be provided today. So the development has to be composite. It's only one particular job? No. Secondly, along with the composite development of the candidate, have complete integration with the industry. What is required in the industry, we need to know today. And that is why we say integration is the co-ownership with the industry. So that way probably we'll be able to develop the candidates as far as vocational training is concerned. 3, this vocational programs or vocational training has to be given due priority, which I feel till date has not been given. In the universities, if you look at the trend, what has been there is probably the vocational courses have taken backseat. They have to be given priority. Develop the candidates for all those required skills, because, what the reports say, the candidates will have to have reskilling, because might be in 5 years or so, you will see that partial automation in most of the job system, and we'll be moving towards the full automation. That means reskilling is required. And even today, the data says that more than 40% skills which the candidates have got, they have to be again reskilled. So that means a composite, complete development of the candidates for all the required qualities. That is what the vocational education requires.
A quick follow-up question there, but how do you determine what the right skill is in terms of vocational program? Like, for example, we look at claims being made every month when it comes to AI, ChatGPT, it can do this, it can do that. First we were told it will be able to replace all your video editors. Then we were told it will replace all graphic designers, then content creators. At that rate, I'm worried about my job as well. But the reality is, how do you determine what are the right skills to give students?
I tell you, that is where the catch lies. How good and how quickly I am able to determine that what lies in future for me 10 years from now. Today, it is difficult even to foresee 2 years. And now, when a student...
Isn't 2 years a bit much?
That's
2 months. 2 months is difficult to predict.
Why I'm saying this is, a student comes to join a graduation course, he will complete in 4 years or 5 years. Now, he completes in 4 years. By the time he completes, he would see that probably the kind of skills he has acquired in 4 years. Now, when he passes out, things have changed altogether. So that means as a university, we have to foresee, how good we can foresee depends on us, but we have to foresee in integration with the industry that what requires in future, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now.
And Mr. Ashok Kumar, I mean, you bring a completely different vantage point compared to the other two gentlemen. Sports has now become a very major, career choice, not just for athletes, but also for people who have multiple skill sets around sports. What changes do you think need to be brought about in universities to ensure that sports is, career related to sports is not just seen as a good course to do, but in fact it is looked on as a very good career opportunity?
See, sports sector is certainly going to increase. From thousands of crores the economy is going to go to lakhs of crores. Already Commonwealth Games 2030 are announced. Most probably we'll get 2036 Olympics also. If we get that, it will be many lakh crores. And sports has a potential of real skilling, sports sciences you take, for example, sports nutrition, sports psychology, sports physiotherapy, right? So all these have a potential of real, practical, not just a theoretical thing. These are practical things. Everyone needs. Every sports person needs. Every academy needs. If we want more medals in Olympics, we need to focus on sports sciences. So therefore, these are the real skills that universities can grant, which will be directly employable. Employability will be very high. Firstly, in government sector. Secondly, even if not in government sector, private academies. Now in Haryana, we have thousands of academies coming up. Whether it's wrestling, it's boxing, it is kabaddi. So all the sports skills. Earlier we used to have only a sports person or a sports coach. So now we have sports scientists. Now we have sports academicians. So ample number of opportunities, and it's a direct skilling, hardly any theories. That is what I would say.
And I think one of the biggest selling points is your ChatGPT or any other AI tool can edit videos, it can do your graphic designing, but it can't run. It can't run on the field, it can't play sports. So I think that should be your biggest selling point. Mr. Jaswal, coming back to you, the thing with vocational programs in India is that we have a lot of learners in India who are first generation of a family going into school or any sort of traditional program. How do you make sure that they look at vocational programs as a real accessible career choice rather than just a fallback if they're not able to get into a college?
No, that absolutely depends on the kind of a curriculum which we design. When the student comes from a village, we have a number of students from a rural area also. When they come to us, they are totally novice. and they are open to change. Now, as far as we are concerned in SRM University, we involve the industry in the framing of a curriculum or the revision of curriculum from the very beginning. And the faculty, the trainers, they come from the day one. And the focus of our curriculum is the experiential learning. We not only talk about experiential learning, but hands-on experience and project-based learning. In fact, our curriculum is much different from the traditional way of teaching where we used to have the maximum credit on the classroom lectures. Now we follow 70-30%, where 70% of our curricula is focusing on the hands-on experience and project-based learning, and that is how they get that base to learn in that direction. That is the benefit.
Absolutely. And I think beyond our technical skills or traditional skills, I think it's also the soft skills that matter. Professor Kaushik, I want to ask you this. I remember getting my first job as an engineer, not because of my technical skills, it was because of my soft skills. So that is when I realized how important it is. At Gurugram University, what are the efforts that you're making to ensure that all of these soft skills and skills beyond the traditional technical skills are also embedded in students so that when they appear for an interview or when they go out, they are confident and they're good to go?
You know, soft skills are very important, no doubt. And at Gurugram University, Gurugram, we take care that they are good when the student leaves the university after 4 years, for example. So they become very good in that. And that is why, along with the, we have integration with the industry as well. So depending upon the kind of requirements as well, what we do is, even in the soft skills, what kind of soft skill we talk. For example, we say leadership or communication, or you call it emotional intelligence or time management, for example. Now, all these are important, but these are important along with the kind of basic skill for which you have come to the university. So that means both will go together. So we at Gurugram University try to make them very good in the field for which they have come, sciences, engineering, humanities, commerce, management, law, whatever. Along with the soft skills, that means soft skills will complement the basic education. My product as a businessman, for example, I would be able to sell only when we have the strength in the product. Only then my soft skill will work.
Like they say in Hindi, jo dikhta hai, wahi bikta hai. So I think soft skill is that sort of an upper layer that also is needed to market and sell a product.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. In fact, Mr. Ashok Kumar, one of the biggest problems in Indian education system is that you have a lot of school dropouts, really talented children who drop out of schools even before they complete their education or even schooling. What sort of urgent interventions do you think there needs to be on the policy level to ensure that all of these talented students are supported not just in schools and colleges but also throughout their vocational programs?
I would say that dropout is because the student is not good in academics, let's say. But it's not possible that any person will not be good at anything in the world. So what we need to focus is to identify what his or her basic talents are. Someone can be a good driver, someone can be a good sports person, someone can be a good artist, maybe good singer, good dancer. So there are thousands of, hundreds of skills. We need to identify those. If we focus on this thing that what positive the boy or the girl has, and then try to develop that talent, so there will be no question of dropout. Like sports, if you talk about sports, so if someone is not good at cricket, maybe he's good at boxing, maybe he's good at football, maybe he's good at basketball. I need to keep on trying. It's just not possible that any student, any boy or girl will not be good at any game. Therefore, we need to work hard on this. Instead of towing the old line, the beaten line that only I have to make you a cricketer, that sab koi Sachin Tendulkar nahi ban sakta. So we need to identify the talent and then work on it. If we go as per the boys or girls' talent, I'm sure there will be zero dropout.
But do you think we have the systems to identify? Mr. Jaswal, the problem is a lot of students in India, I'm sure everyone has been a student at some point. A lot of students in India identify their real skills, their real talent after they finish engineering. Do you think we have the systems in place to help students identify the real talent during school so that at least the courses that they do actually add value to what they're doing?
No, exactly. That is what the focus of the national education policy. When we say they have the choice, they can do any additional subject and the credits are transferred. So when they come from the school to the university or the college level, they have a freedom there. Like in my university, I would say the student of a law is also studying artificial engineering. He attends the classes of artificial engineering because we have given that option and the credits are transferred. But your question was at a school level. At a school level, we have some different problems. I think more focus is required to be given at the school education where we have not been able to do it. Though we have made the right to education, primary education as a fundamental right. But if you go to the in actual reality to the rural area, either we don't have teachers or we don't have good schools, and the affirmative action is required. You asked a question to one of my colleagues regarding dropouts. I think some of the dropouts are because of the economic condition. So if you take into consideration those things also, they will come down. And the kind of choice of subject which is not given at the school level, that has to be provided. So we need a change in the education policy to that level as well.
Are you, Professor Kaushik, happy with how the national education policy is turning out to be? Like Mr. Jaswal said, there's a lot of focus on making sure that a student is not just stuck into a narrow stream. He or she is able to explore a lot more opportunity, learn more skills. You never know what comes in handy. You think any more additions have to be made to the education policy to make it more comprehensive?
You know, I believe what lies in National Education Policy 2020, it's very good. The only thing is the implementation, and the implementation has to be done by us only. You know, when it talks multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and this is what is required today. A student of geography can study music as well and science as well. So when we say even in skilling the composite, complete development, how would he get it? And that has been taken care of in the National Education Policy 2020. And secondly, when we say skilling and reskilling, even that has been taken care of as a complete personality development. When you talked of soft skills also, even that has been taken care of. So I think if the implementation is good, this policy would turn out to be very good.
But the problem is the national education policy is drafted by the center. Education is a state subject. There's a lot of issue with that also when it comes to implementation. So how do you solve that problem?
I believe, you know, the interests of the center and the state cannot be different. You know, ultimately...
Then why is there a fight?
Look, for whom the education is there, for the students, the candidates, the people and the student candidates are same in the center as well as in the states only. So I think if we forget our petty interests, probably this policy would turn out to be very good.
So, Mr. Jaswal?
Yeah.
Same question to you.
Well, there are many positive points of national education policy, but what the central theme of your question was, why there is a difference. Probably what should have been done, education is not a state subject, it is in the concurrent list.
Correct.
So it is both center and state, both can make the law. And the constitution is very clear that if both make the law which are different, then the central law will prevail. So two things were required, in my opinion. Number one, before the national education policy was rolled out, that time it was called as a new education policy, probably there should have been a consensus which could have been taken by the central government from all the states in advance that, okay, we are going to do this. Not by force, by acceptance. That is one. Secondly, the states also have to accept that if there are some positive point, there may be few, there may be many. They have to be taken because education is the manifestation of the development which is already in a human being. I'm reminded of Michelangelo, renowned sculptor from Italy. He used to make beautiful statue out of a rough rock. So once somebody asked, how do you make so beautiful sculpture from a rough rock of stone? You know, his reply was, a beautiful sculpture is already there in the rock. I only chisel it out. That is what we have to see. There is no student in the society who is not intelligent or who cannot study. My colleague said it. You know, we have to find out what is his interest. And we have to focus on that. And it is the duty of we all sitting here as teachers. So how do we tackle and how we chisel out the skill out of a student and give him a direction? One of the best example I can quote here is of Dhoni. Dhoni was a footballer, but he proved to be one of the best captain in cricket. So that is what it can be done.
Absolutely. I think that's a good note to end the conversation on, the fact that India continues to be a sleeping giant across a lot of sectors. The only way you can wake up this sleeping giant is by strengthening our system, vocational programs like you pointed out, and also ensuring that the right talent is tapped into. And all of that can only happen when our system, when our infrastructure is stronger. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity.